When you want that thing over there dead, right fucking now, and you are willing to put a life and a machine on the line to get that job done. Accept no substitutes. Send the Terminator. The Backstabber is your literal ace in the hole, the guided missile you unleash to destroy high priority targets. The rear armor facing of a unit is the Achilles heel of its survivability, and this role is designed to exploit that design deficiency. With just one, or if luck is against you, two volleys from a Backstabber, the offender is erased with extreme prejudice, saving your other units precious ammunition and time. Depending on weapon loadout, a Backstabber can be very good at critting out an opponent's engine for a mission kill, saving not only time, but the salvage as well. Honestly, punching through the enemies behind is just the most efficient way to wreck their shit, and who doesn't enjoy efficiency? Eliminating a linchpin unit from the enemy roster might give you the breathing room you need to regroup from a tenuous situation, or to enable a crushing advance onto the objective. Due to its speed, the Backstabber also serves well in giving you some information on the enemy's disposition, and it absolutely excels in smashing isolated or fleeing enemies who have suddenly remembered it's their grandma's birthday, and they still need to pick up a cake from the grocery store. The fact that the fleeing started as soon as the Terminator came into view is just the icing on said cake. Grandma said she wanted chocolate, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to this role, though. Most obvious is that due to its heavy focus on speed and weaponry, the unit will be very fragile when it comes to taking hits. The Backstabber just has poor longevity in general, as it tends to have an exceptionally high reliance on ammunition-based weapons on top of its lack of armor. Installing high-efficiency energy weapons and running this unit at heat neutrality will lower its shock value, and the last thing a pilot of such a machine wants to see is the angry face of the mech it just unsuccessfully tried to poop shoot. And even when it succeeds, the salvage from a Backstabber kill tends to be feast or famine. It is very difficult to get exactly the right amount of firepower into a fresh target, especially since the penalty for not getting enough is so dire, so there tends to be quite a bit of overkill involved with this role. On the flip side, playing safe with this unit simply negates a lot of the value it brings to your company. Not only will its weapons spend too much of the battle silent if you focus on keeping it safe, but it also takes up tonnage in a drop slot you could have spent on a unit that is less anxiety-inducing and more versatile. That mindset extends even to the Backstabber's loadout. Conservative builds will leave a bland taste in your mouth, and while flirting with heat shutdown on Alpha will get results, overzealous commanders will quickly find themselves giving a somber service in the mess hall with an empty casket. The Backstabber leans into the classic hammer and anvil style tactical approach, and therein lay the initial instruction on its use. Similar to the flanker, this role becomes nothing but a liability if deployed alone, and whatever you send as bait will need to be powerful enough that the enemy cannot afford to risk turning around to deal with the Backstabber itself. The difference between the two is that the Backstabber is far more aggressive than the flanker in searching for openings, willing to put itself at significant risk to achieve its devastating results. Truly, attempting to use this unit in a timid or safe manner will waste its potential, and so commanders who are assured of their more cautious temperament should avoid including this role in their dropship completely. Those commanders with a desire to push it to the limit, however, will find the pot of gold at the end of a bloody rainbow. No other unit on the battlefield can more reliably paste opposing machines than a well-run Backstabber, and the carnage intensifies if you run them in pairs. This is actually my preferred method of using this role, as it more reliably ensures that you get enough firepower into the harder targets to take them down, and keeps the role a little less isolated in hairy situations. Because it doesn't matter. If you continue to run units in this role, eventually they will get destroyed. That's just how it goes. The job of the Backstabber is to get in and get the kill. Getting out is secondary. But the net effect they provide on the battlefield should more than have paid for itself by that time, when used properly. As for the pilots, well, if they wanted to die in bed surrounded by grandchildren, they would not have become mech warriors. The struggle with pairings is the amount of drop slots they occupy, not so much the tonnage. So one way to get around this is to pair a mech with a vehicular partner. Yeah, you'll lose some unit cohesion that way, but if you don't want to spend 2 precious mech slots on this role, it's an option. Not that there is anything wrong with running this role as a single unit either, mech or vehicle. Is it any surprise at this point that the build starts with movement? Speed. You need speed. Without it, the unit will be unable to circle around the enemy position to reach the rear in the first place, and the entire concept is shot to shit, so be aggressive here. No, 5.8 is not fast enough. If you can't get separation from your battle line in 1 to 2 rounds, you aren't doing anything useful. It's 6'9" or faster for this role, and do not be shy about going to 7-Eleven. They have Slurpees, and who doesn't love a Slurpee? My apologies to those who haven't experienced the awesomeness of the 7-Eleven. Once the engine is in, put on the weapons. Yeah, you heard that right. Weapons before armor. If you've built a fire support mech, you've had some exposure to sacrificing armor tonnage for more weapon pod space. The Backstabber dials this concept to 11. I favor high projectile counts for this role, as it gives you the most chances to roll critical damage against an exposed engine, so my recommendation is for lots of hits. Missile tubes, certain pulse lasers, LBX and rotary autocannons, fantastic choices. Streak systems for your tubes are excellent as well, and definitely worth the tonnage on this roll. Don't worry so much about heat. Presumably, your target will be dead after the first volley, giving you a chance to disengage and vent, so your aim here should just be to keep the heat levels manageable while you maneuver for your next target. Move to defensive equipment after. Don't get me wrong, armor is useful, and you'll definitely want to have some. It's just not the priority. You're going to be relying on speed and kill time to avoid damage, thus the build emphasis. You can also consider stealth armor and ECM. You'll never find me recommend against ECM. Just consider how much of your precious cargo you're willing to sacrifice to the altar of survivability on a low survivability unit. In a campaign setting, you don't want to be constantly replacing mechs, but in my estimation, you are better served by tailoring your tactics using such an explosive machine, rather than attempting to rely on defensive equipment to get by. There is much to learn about not just which targets to take down, but when to go in, and increasing your scale in these areas will be a much bigger jump in this unit's survivability than any equipment you can install. This is a very polarizing unit role. The Backstabber is a love letter to aggressive commanders, who giggle with glee at the scars and stains it leaves in its wake on the battlefield. However, its primary prey absolutely abhors it, and those who value unit safety over all other considerations should leave this design in the hands of the adrenaline junkies.